before I read it, just that little bit of background on it. This is a Psalm of David. There's never, from what I've read, there's not really question. Some of the Psalms, there's questions occasionally about who wrote it, or not that takes away from its authenticity of being Scripture, or that it should. That's where so many Christians lose sight. We don't focus on God. And when we take our focus off of God, and when we're looking back, we're still looking at God, we're focusing on God. When we take our focus off of God and we just lose sight of everything, that's when we truly be used by God. When I take my focus off of God and the world's mess, I've heard it put this way, cacophony of chaos. That's what this world is. It's just a mess of chaos. When I take my eyes off of God, that's what's going on. And it doesn't let me focus on any one thing. But I focus on God, and He takes us through those problems. Verse 6 says, I stretch forth my hands unto thee. It says basically stretching out his hands in prayer. This signifies an eagerness for God. I'm reaching out to God. The Scriptures talk about that, and I'm not going to come down on us for this. We sometimes as Baptists, I'm not all for dancing and singing and clapping. I'm not for that. But sometimes we need to lift our hands in obedience to God. The Scriptures don't condemn that. If we're doing it to bring focus to ourselves, yes, it does. I absolutely think it does. And that's where the big problem happens. In most churches and most places that do this, they do the clapping and the shouting and the screaming. They're wanting people to look at them. But David's talking about this, and we lift, what's he say? We lift holy hands to God. It's an eagerness that we're asking God to rain it down on us. We can't do anything else. We're looking for that. We're expecting it. Our thoughts of God should be that kindling that starts the fire burning. How do you start a fire most of the time? I've not started that many fires in fireplaces, but you always start it small, don't you? You don't pour a bunch of gasoline on it. I know that much. You start it with small bits of wood. You start it small to get the flame started. And just our thoughts of God, our focusing on God, kindles that burning. The more you think about it, the more you're going to think about it. The more you're going to concentrate on it. I had a quote on my wall, and I can't find it since we moved, of David Brainerd. I'm trying to remember exactly how it says. Something to the effect of that, of concentrating on God. I find that David Brainerd said that I find those few minutes when I turn away from God, my thirst for Him is so unquenchable that I find those few minutes when I fail to think and focus on God are miserable. I'm completely paraphrasing. That's the Basha version of Brainerd's thoughts. That's what he's saying. When I fail and I lose that focus, I'm miserable. And it drives me back to God again. And that's what makes us have that. And he poured those blessings on God. He knew that by doing that, he couldn't go wrong. And by trusting God to lead me and to direct me, I'm not going to go wrong. My God is the same God as David's God. He's not going to lead me wrong if I'm trusting Him, not looking to my own ways to do something. Again, when our heart's low, that's when we lift ourselves up to God for comfort. I've heard this said. I don't remember who said it. I think I have it written down that a man named Dr. Wisdom said it. I don't think he was quoting somebody else. We need to pray hardest when it's hardest to pray. When devastation comes into our life, that's sometimes the hardest and worst time we don't want to pray. That's when we need to do it. And we need to be praying all the time, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that only those times, but when it's hardest to pray, that's when we need to be seeking God out. We need to be looking to Him during those times, trusting Him to lead us in the right way. The last thing to look at this evening, he says here, has been found in verse 4.
So far, I've never heard anyone ever go wrong.
I got implants in mine.
Do you?
Yeah.